Hello and thank you for coming to our talk on RF shimming in a spinal cord at 7 Tesla. I have no conflict of interest to declare. Why do we want to do B1 plus shimming in a cervical spine? In recent years, there have been a number of vendor-provided and bespoke dedicated C-spine coils for 7T, some with parallel transmit capability. If we have PTX, then we have the ability to address B1 plus inhomogeneity and therefore improve our signal. However, there has been no consensus on what the best approach is, and vendor-provided methods do not appear to have been optimized for the cervical spine. If you're interested in an alternative approach, I invite you to take a look at my e-poster on universal passes. How did we carry out B1 plus shimming in our experiments? We need a 7 Tesla scanner and a dedicated PTX-capable C-spine coil. We have built ourselves one such coil. Using this, we acquire an anatomical and channel-specific B1 plus maps. From the MRI console, we then push this data onto a laptop that is running the shimming toolbox. From within the shimming toolbox, we call our other toolbox, the spinal cord toolbox, to segment the spinal cord from the anatomical scan and create a mask. Then we push this mask onto the channel-specific transmit field maps, and using this data and constraints, we can tell our toolbox to optimize shim weights to fulfill these constraints. Once we have these shimming coefficients, we can push this back to the MRI console and now acquire RF shimmed MRI data. What constraints did we use? The easiest is to use no constraint. This is just no B1 plus shimming, CP mode, or true form. The next is to do patient-specific B1 plus shimming. This is optimizing over the whole of the field of view. And the third is to do volume-specific B1 plus shimming. These three options are provided by the vendor. I would like to draw your attention to the figure showing in red the spinal cord mask that the shimming toolbox will use to optimize, and in blue the rectangular volume that is provided by the vendor to optimize the RF field. In shimming toolbox, we have implemented 4 approaches. One is to do phase-only shimming. Here we wish to minimize the coefficient of variation within the mask only by adjusting the transmit channel phase. In COV reduction, we allow the algorithm to adjust both magnitude and phase of the transmit channels while minimizing COV. In target, we calculate the shim weights such that the excitation efficiency is a target value across the whole of the mask or the whole of the cord. And in SAR efficiency, we wish to maximize B1 plus while respecting an SAR constraint. We can visualize the resulting shim weights under these constraints the following way. If we plot the real and the imaginary component for each transmit channel, then in the case of no B1 plus shimming where we don't have any constraints, all the weights will lie on the 1 over square root 8 circle, where 8 is the number of transmit channels. And if we do only phase-only shimming, then we will only rotate on this circle. For every other scenario, we will adjust both magnitude and phase, therefore we move away from this circle. The resulting B1 plus efficiency is shown here. On the top, there is a spinal cord with a quick anatomical guide. The plots here go from the bottom of the second thoracic vertebrae to the top of the third cervical one. This is basically your neck. You can see that, for example, the target is achieved in most of the field of view, that SAR efficiency achieves a high B1 plus efficiency, and that the volume-specific B1 plus shimming algorithm did not perform well. However, ultimately we're interested in image quality and image contrast, not B1 plus efficiency. I'll walk you through this slide. On the left, you see the mask in which the coefficient of variation has been calculated for these 7 B1 plus shimming scenarios. And then you can see a sagittal view of the spinal cord for all cases using the same windowing, and an inset showing an axial view. You can see that when we ask our toolbox to reduce the coefficient of variation, we need to find the lowest coefficient of variation of all of these scenarios. A would also like to note that the coefficient of variation when we use our toolbox is always lower than for the vendor-provided approaches. You can also see that B1 plus shimming improves signal intensity and it improves gray and white matter contrast and spinal cord CSF contrast for all the scenarios within the shimming toolbox. In conclusion, we have shown that B1 plus shimming in a spinal cord at 7 Tesla is both possible and useful. It is possible because our shimming toolbox implements open source RF shimming methods. If you think we need to implement another one, please reach out to us and we will do so. And it is useful because we improve signal homogeneity, we reduce the coefficient of variation, and we improve the tissue contrast compared to CP mode. With that, I would like to thank everyone at Neuropoly, people at the BIC who helped me acquire data, and Carl Gilbert. And if you're interested in contributing, please check out these links. Thank you for your attention.